Today's National Coming Out Day, and today I'm gonna tell you guys my coming out story. Not only that, just today is the day to just really support those who are coming out for the first time, whether it be today, in a week, in a month, a year. Those who are gay, straight, bi, lesbian, transgender, whether you're straight and you're coming out saying I support equality between a man and man or woman and woman, supporting those who just want to be themselves. So yeah, let's get started into my story. So the first really family member I ever came out to was my sister, and I don't know, we went to Best Buy and we were talking about tattoos and how we were getting what we wanted to get as a tattoo, or the first tattoo we wanted, and I started explaining how I wanted a peacock feather, and underneath it I wanted to say "Born This Way," and she's like asking me why I'd want that, and in my head I'm like, shoot, this is kind of leading into me being, telling her that I'm gay, or and I was like, shit, how do I avoid talking about it, because I just wasn't prepared. But I kind of just said, peacock always shows their true self and it doesn't hide their true colors and stuff like that. And then I was trying to avoid the "Born This Way," and she went into it and she goes, why do you want it born this way? And so I was like, well, the Gaga song, being yourself no matter who you are. And that's how I kind of left it. So we were in Best Buy just walking around, and you could I could feel kind of the tension, or we knew what was gonna happen in a way. So we left Best Buy and we were in her truck, and out of nowhere, she just says, whatever you're thinking, you can just tell me. I already know, but I want you to say it yourself. I don't want to push you to saying it. And so I just sat there and I looked at her and I was like, well, whatever you're thinking, it's true. And I told her, yeah, I'm gay. So that's how it kind of unfolded. And after that, I just kind of told her who I dated and what I felt, and we kind of just laughed about it. And she said, well, I already knew. And I was just like, what? You already knew? And I'm over here freaking out. So I just think it's funny how that kind of happened. But that's me coming out to my sister. Then my brother was the second to know. He was out of town working in Colorado, so I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he came down and visited. So it was me, my sister, and my brother who went out to dinner. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell my brother. And my sister was like, you'll be fine, Alex is gonna be really supportive and this and that. So I was still freaking out. We were at dinner, and we were just there, and I was like, so I have to tell you something. He's like, okay. And I go, well, I'm attracted to girls and not guys. And he's like, okay, I already knew. I was like, are you kidding me? My sister Dana already knew, and now you knew? I'm over here freaking out thinking it's gonna be crazy and I'm gonna cry, and nope, he already knew. And he says, no matter what, I'm gonna love you and I'm gonna support you. So that was that. I felt so much better that, my brother and sister knew, and I wasn't hiding so much anymore, so I felt a lot better. I think that was around the summer when I came out to my brother and sister. Then it was that was the summer before going into my senior year. And so I made a promise to myself that I would come out to my parents before I started my senior year of high school, because that's the year where you're supposed to really have fun and be yourself and just not worry about, anything. So the only thing you should be worrying about is what college am I gonna get in, or this and that. But I made that promise to myself that, I was gonna tell them before I started my senior year. When I came out to my parents, it was at night, and I remember I was folding clothes in my room, and my mom and my dad were in the living room watching the Olympics. I remember they were watching the swimming Olympics or whatever, and my sister was here, and at the time my grandma used to live with us here, and we would take care of her. And so before that, there was never a right time to really actually tell my parents, because when I was about to, it always seemed like we had to go help my grandma, which nothing was wrong, like that's how it was at the time. And so this night my sister came and she, you know, put my grandma to bed, and I was just folding clothes in my room. My parents were watching TV, and my sister comes in my room and she goes, I don't want to push you or, you know, anything, but I think right now is a good time for you to go tell him. You know, grandma's asleep. I'm here. If she needs anything, I'll go to her while you're talking to mom and dad. And I was like, okay. So at that time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It was like maybe a week and a half before school started. So I was like, no, this is the time I have to take it. And so my hands started to get clammy. My heart was beating really fast. I was just like, I need to do this. I need to do it. And so I went into the living room and I sat down on the couch, and my sister was, you know, sitting across from me, and my parents were on one couch, and I just told my dad, can you turn the TV down? I have something to tell you. And so my mom kind of had her like worry face, and she was like, you know, got on the edge of her couch and was like, okay, what are you gonna say? And my dad, he just staring straight at the TV, nothing. He didn't, you know, my dad is the type where he doesn't show a lot of emotion, but he shows a lot through his actions. So my dad is great, and later on, well, I'll get into it, but sorry at the lag. I was just sitting there and I was quiet. I didn't know how to start it, and there's no right way to come out to your friends or to your family. It's just how it comes out, basically, the coming out story. So I just sat there and I was looking down, and I was like doing this a lot, and I looked at my sister and she was like kind of smiling like, you can do it, you know. So I started crying, and my mom, you know, started like, what's going on? Are you okay? Like what's going on? Like you're kind of freaking me out. And so I was just crying, and she's like, it's okay, you know, whatever you have to say, it's okay. And my dad didn't really know how to react, because I just sat there and I started crying out of nowhere. And I think I just started to say, I don't like guys. I'm attracted to girls. And I was just like, I said it like, you know, I'm gay. And my mom just kind of sat back and was like, took a deep breath, and she's like, I still love you. We're still gonna be your parents. And I look at my dad, and he's just still staring at the TV, and I'm just like, is he gonna say something? And at this point, I already know my dad. He doesn't really express a lot of emotion, but I know that, you know, it was so hard, because when my dad didn't say anything, it was the hardest thing, because I am a daddy's little girl, but my mom was mostly talking to me, and she said, you know, we're gonna love you no matter what. We're still gonna be your parents. And then I looked at my dad, he still didn't say anything. And I looked at him and I go, Dad, are you gonna say something? And he just kept staring at the TV, and at that point I just broke down even more, because I don't know, I didn't know what to feel, my dad not saying anything. And my mom was like, it's gonna take more time for Dad to actually, it's gonna take both of us to really understand what just happened. And then she started asking me, when did I know, had I dated anyone, just stuff like that. And I mean, at that point, I had already, you know, I told myself when I come out to my parents, they're gonna have to take time to process that I'm gay, but I'm still the same person. It's just that one part that they're gonna have to understand. But I also had to understand that it was gonna take time, and that if they had questions, I would answer them. I shouldn't be getting mad because they're curious. They want to know this new part of me. So, you know, when you're coming out to your parents or to anyone and they're asking so many questions, make sure you're not so rude about it or like annoyed and like, oh my gosh, they want to know all this stuff, you know, it took me forever just to say this. They need to understand, and they want to know this new part about your life, you know. Let them understand, let them ask questions. So, you know, my mom was asking me questions, and I answered them. And at that point, she stood up and she gave me a hug, and she says, no matter what, I'm gonna love you. Like, don't ever think that I would abandon you. Like, that's not right. And at this point, my dad was still just sitting there, not doing anything. My sister, you know, was smiling, like a smile of like, you did it, like I'm proud of you, and that made me feel good. And so I was like, okay, like that's it. Like, you know, when I got up, I came to my room and I started folding clothes again, just doing my own thing, like, you know, just processing what had just happened. And my sister came in and she was like, okay, I'm leaving. And she told me, she goes, I'm proud of you, like, you were really, really brave. And she goes, no matter what, we're all gonna love you. And so I felt a little better, and she left, and I was, you know, still here folding clothes, and my door was closed, and I could hear my mom talking to my dad, just mumbling here and there. I'm guessing, you know, it's gonna take time to really understand, you know, what Michelle just told us. And I know my dad didn't say anything. I'm pretty sure he was just nodding or, you know, shaking his head, or I don't really know, but all I just heard was mumbling. And my mom came in to my room and she goes, I'm proud of you, and we're gonna love you no matter what. And I was still worrying about what my dad was thinking, because he didn't say anything. She said her goodnights, I said goodnight, and she left my door open, and I was just standing there. And I remember there was a fly in my room, and it was like flying around, and I was like, oh my gosh, this fly is bugging me. And I was like, I started laughing because I just made a joke, and I was just like, haha, a fly is a bug and it's bugging me. And I just had like a little moment to myself where I was just like, everything stopped, and I was just there and laughing at a stupid joke I had just made. And I just thought it was funny, like it just came out of nowhere that night. And then I felt, you know, someone behind me, and I turned around and my dad was at the foot of the door, and he was just looking at me, and I go, hi Dad, and he comes up to me and he gives me a hug. He comes up to me and he gives me a hug, and he says, I'm going to bed. And I said, okay. And he's giving me a hug, and I said good night, and he goes, I love you. I'm sorry. For my dad not to really explain his emotions or what he thinks about stuff, that said everything to me. Sorry. Him saying that, you know, said everything. And I knew that he was still gonna be there for me, and he was still gonna love me no matter what. And I hugged him. I knew that everything was okay. Like, all this weight fell off of my shoulders, and I felt so much better knowing that I was finally myself. I wasn't tiptoeing around hiding myself, hiding people that I was with. And I mean, before I even came out, I would do these like little things where I'd ask my mom, you know, I think it's crazy how some parents abandon their kids or shut them out when they come out, you know, being gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual. And she goes, I really don't understand how parents can do that, how parents can just shut them out, you know. They're the same person. It's just, it's something, they're the same person. It's just they love who they love. And at that point, I would do those things with certain people, and I was like, okay, she's okay with it, but would she ever be okay with it with me? School started. It was a new chapter. I was myself. I was not gonna not be myself. And so maybe a week later, the week was still kind of hard. You could kind of tell, like, yes, they said they were okay with it. My parents were being okay with it, but they were still trying to understand. And my mom was upset, but more upset of the fact that everyone else knew except for them till the very end. And I didn't really know how to explain it to her, you know. Like, I was telling these people and I waited to tell them, and I just really couldn't explain it to where she could understand and not be upset anymore. And I remember my dad was just telling her, like, you need to stop, like, you need to understand that she told us when she was ready. And my mom just kept on and kept on, and I was trying not to get upset about it because she wanted to know, and she was asking, well, did I not do something right as a mom? And I said, no, that's not it. It's just I wasn't ready to tell you. And she goes, well, then why didn't you tell me anything when you were curious? And I told her I didn't want to come out being curious. I wanted to be sure on what I was feeling and then come out. I didn't want to come out, I guess, twice, you could say, you know. Oh, I'm curious, and then, oh, I'm this. Like, I just wanted to be sure. And I got so frustrated that I left. I went to my sister's, and I was just breaking down, and I told her I don't know how to explain it. Like, out of nowhere, it just clicked, and I told my sister, it's easier to tell someone you hardly know, or, you know, than to tell someone you've known your whole life. And she goes, that's it. That's all you have to tell her. And I said, yeah. Because, I mean, I could tell my friends, and whether they accepted me or not, if they didn't, then I didn't need those people in my life. I didn't. Like, I wasn't going to have negativity from them. So I could just push them away. But telling someone you've known your whole life, telling someone who gave birth to you and brought you up and saw you grow, that's harder. It's a lot harder to tell someone that. And so I went home and I told her, and she understood. And after that, I mean, that was in 2012, and that's when I came out. So, and it's already 2015. Car passed by, sorry. It's 2015, and I'm telling you my coming out story. So I hope that helped in a way to those who are still trying to find the way to come out. And it does get better. It truly does. You don't have to keep secrets from your family or your friends and hide who you are, because I'm truly more happy with who I am being myself. I haven't done a video in a long time, so I might make another video or not, I don't know. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day and just love everyone. So, bye.